This film is based on a true story. The setting is Qiaonan in 2005. A car was rear-ended, causing the man to get out of his vehicle. He stepped out and began taking pictures of the license plate for insurance purposes. The person responsible for the collision then stabbed him from behind. Afterward, the perpetrator dragged him into his car and stabbed him multiple times. Then the killer simply drove away. The next day, Jung, a police officer, arrived at the crime scene. He examined the body, searching for clues nearby. He discovered that the car had been hit from behind. Meanwhile, Zhang, a powerful crime boss with a gambling empire, was having a meeting with another crime boss. They argued about their territories and their subordinates started fighting. Crime boss Kong humiliated Zhang's subordinate, so Zhang captured a subordinate from the rival gang. He pulled out the man's teeth and forced Kong to drink them, an act unworthy of a crime boss. At the police station, Jung presented evidence to his superior suggesting the recent murder could be linked to previous ones. This proved it was the work of a serial killer. However, his superior dismissed the idea. He claimed Jung was jumping to unreasonable conclusions. Later, Zhang decided to drive back alone to clear his mind. On the way, his car was rear-ended. So he stepped out, ready to confront the other driver. Zhang saw the damage was minor. He forgave the driver. But the man suddenly stabbed him from behind. Zhang fought back against the attacker. He defeated the killer and stabbed him as well. The killer ran to his car. He hit Zhang with the car and fled. Zhang was rushed to the hospital. Meanwhile, Hio, Zhang's brother, led their gang in an attack against a rival gang to retaliate, assuming they were responsible for the attack. Elsewhere, the killer was stitching his wound using a stapler and healing himself. Afterward, he met a man and killed him to steal his clothes. Zhang woke up the next day and remarked that the killer seemed odd. Perhaps he wasn't sent by the rival gang. He gave his subordinates details about the killer's car. At that moment, Jung also arrived to take Zhang's statement about the incident. However, Zhang didn't trust the police and refused to file a report. So Jung went to Zhang's building and found his car there. He saw that the car had also been hit from behind, just like in the previous case. Elsewhere, Zhang brought in an artist to create a sketch of the killer. Zhang ordered his subordinates to find this man before the police did. Meanwhile, the killer found his next victim and took the victim's truck. He threw his knife onto the roadside. Jung launched a raid on Zhang's illegal gambling den. This gave him a chance to confront Zhang directly. Jung told Zhang that the attacker was a serial killer. But Zhang was skeptical, though he had recently come to the same conclusion. The attack on Zhang tarnished his reputation. As a result, his rivals openly encroached on his territory. Zhang's only solace was his loyal subordinates. They found the abandoned car of the killer and his knife. He also learned about several murders in the area. Realizing Jung might be right about the attacker being a serial killer, Zhang invited the detective to his home to share his thoughts. He explained that a gangster's reputation is everything to him, so he must find the attacker. Zhang proposed an alliance with Jung. They agreed to share resources. Whoever captures the killer first gets to deal with him as they see fit. Jung planned to bring him to justice, while Zhang intended to kill him immediately after their agreement. Zhang tells Jung that their conversation is being recorded to serve as leverage in the future. Zhang handed the killer's sketch to Jung. He also showed it to two trusted associates. He made them promise not to reveal anything about their alliance with the detective. They entered Zhang's warehouse, where the gang was keeping the killer's car. They inspected the area for DNA traces of the killer. Meanwhile, Zhang sent his men to assassinate a rival boss who had taken advantage of Zhang's declining reputation, and ordered them to use the serial killer's knife for the murder. Jung met with forensic expert Kim, asking her to test the DNA found in the killer's car. Kim confirmed that the DNA matched the samples from recent murders. Additionally, it also matched the DNA found on the knife from the rival boss's murder. Thus, these murders were classified as serial killings, and the entire police department became involved. Jung was infuriated by this. He confronted Zhang about it. However, Zhang easily overpowered him, and admitted to killing the rival boss. But now, all responsibility was pinned on the serial killer. This deeply unsettled Jung. These developments caught the media's attention. The serial killer saw everything on the news and grew furious at being blamed for the boss's murder. So, he attended the boss's funeral alongside all the other gangs. Even Zhang was present. The killer wrote a letter to the assistant, claiming the boss was killed with his knife, but by someone else. The assistant grew suspicious of Zhang. That night, the killer went out and used the same tactic to murder another man. The next day, before the detectives could examine the scene, Jung and Zhang quickly surveyed the car for clues. As soon as Young found a fingerprint on the steering wheel, the rival gang's subordinates attacked them. Despite being outnumbered, the attackers were no match for Young and Jang, who made them punching bags for their frustration. The following day, Young's boss forced him to investigate a kidnapping case, despite his objections. Reluctantly, Young followed the victim's wife as she delivered the ransom. There, he noticed another man acting suspiciously. They chased the man across the town, but the mysterious figure managed to escape. Later, Kim handed Young a report showing the fingerprint from the steering wheel belonged to someone who had been reported missing. Young visited the suspect's house, which was filled with green bottles and other strange items. A journal with odd symbols and vials of medicine. He also found a photo of the man, matching the killer's sketch. So, he quickly ordered his office to dig up everything they could on this person. Elsewhere, Jang was holding a meeting with some business partners. One of them started mocking him in front of everyone. Jang initially laughed but then slapped him, again and again, until the man collapsed from the slaps. At that moment, Young sent a voice message about the kidnapper's information to him. Jang listened and confirmed it was the serial killer. The name of the serial killer was Kong Kong. They investigated his background and discovered that Kong was abused by his father as a child. At that moment, one of Jang's men and one of Young's officers got into a fight. Young stopped the fight, then reprimanded his colleague for starting it. Jang, impressed by this display of integrity, gave Kang's picture to every member of his gang. They scattered throughout the city searching for him, but their efforts proved fruitless. One day, while waiting for a bus in the rain, Jang handed his umbrella to a schoolgirl. When her bus arrived, she thanked him and boarded, unaware that Kong was sitting right next to her. That evening, the gangsters and detectives were dining together when news of another murder broke. They saw the umbrella Jang had given the girl and realized she was the latest victim. They quickly mobilized, searching every motel and restaurant along the bus route. Eventually, they found a motel where the owner confirmed Kong was staying. However, he wasn't there at the moment, so they waited for him. Late at night, Kong returned while everyone waited tensely, but his killer instincts kicked in, and he quickly drove off. Police and gangsters immediately chased after him. After a long and difficult pursuit, 3 vehicles collided. Kong quickly fled on foot. They split up, searching various paths for him. Taking advantage of the situation, Kong ambushed Jang's assistant, stabbing him multiple times. Jang arrived, and before dying, the assistant told him where Kong went. Following the lead, Jang discovered a trail of blood leading to a karaoke bar. In one of the rooms, he noticed 2 girls crying while singing, prompting him to enter. Kong was hiding in the bathroom, waiting for him, but Jang simply smashed the door into him and punched him through it. He then dragged him out like a sack of potatoes. Young called him, but Jang ignored it, leading Young to realize Kong had been caught. Jang tied Kong up in his hideout and beat him, but Kong laughed maniacally like a clown. Jang grabbed a machete and prepared to dismember him, but Young burst in and subdued Jang. Young, still a police officer, officially arrested Kong, leaving Jang on the floor. Young returned to the police station, where everyone was shocked to finally confront the serial killer. The next day, the news shocked the nation. Meanwhile, police began cracking down on Jang's gambling operations. Back at the station, the officers interrogated Kong. He remained calm while the officers grew frustrated, lacking solid evidence aside from circumstantial proof. Kong had also used chemicals to erase his fingerprints, making it impossible to link the knife to him. Aware of all this, Kong presented the same argument in court. Even the judge hesitated to convict him. The victims' families could only wait for justice. The prosecutor called a witness, the sole survivor of Kang's attacks, Jang. The previous night, Young had visited Jang, asking for his help. Both wanted to capture Kong, but Young suggested using the law. When Jang grew angry and hit him, Young played a recording. The recording revealed Jang admitting to killing the rival gang boss. Now, Jang had no choice but to surrender to the law and become a witness. Jang testified that Kong was the one who stabbed him. The defense attorney countered, claiming Jang was a criminal himself and untrustworthy. However, Jang calmly stated that Kong was a killer who murdered purely for fun. He declared Kong unworthy of the law's protection, making Kong laugh in his face. Jang presented additional evidence, including his stab wounds. He confirmed he had stabbed Kong, which the court verified as true. Jang also submitted a letter Kong wrote to the assistant, confirming it was in his handwriting. The line, "The boss was killed with my knife," was retained, but the part, "by someone else," had been erased. With this evidence, Kong was sentenced to death. Jang was arrested but received a reduced sentence for his actions. In prison, all of Jang's subordinates came to visit him. He met Kong before his execution and smiled back at him. In the past, Jang agreed to Young's plan on the condition that he and Kong be imprisoned together for a time. Jang grabs a rope and approaches Kong while he's showering, giving him some acts of affection. The film ends with the image of the gangster, the cop, and the devil once more coming to light. This concludes the movie. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Goodbye and see you again.